What's up, guys? This is Mr. SLIN talking to you about competitive Team Fortress 2. And today I want to teach you the skills that you need to be working on when you're in a deathmatch server and sort of your mindset and what you should be thinking about and what you should be trying to do when you hop in a DM server. I notice that a lot of guys will hop in these DM servers and just mindlessly shoot stuff, but if used properly, DM servers are the best tool for getting good at the game. DM servers are the compound exercises of the TF2 world. You're working on many different parts of your game all at the same time, and every single part of it is valuable. Now, if you use it to its fullest potential, you can actually improve tremendously. If you just hop in a server and you're just playing as a way to warm up, that's cool too, but there's ways that you can use the DM servers to actually get super good at the game. So when you hop in a DM server, you're working on some skills. Obviously, you're working on your raw aim and you're working on your raw movement, but you're also working on your situational awareness. DM servers are different from MGE or just hopping in pugs or even your scrims because you're focusing all of your attention on killing people effectively, and these scenarios are happening over and over and over again. Now, the footage you're watching right now is me in the Team Fortress TV Chicago deathmatch server where there's instant respawn. It's an 8-person server, 4 versus 4 team deathmatch. So I'm shooting the enemies and I'm trying to stay alive and get a good KD, sure, but I'm working on my aim, right? I'm working on my movement. How do I not take damage? And I'm working on so many pieces of just being aware of what's around me. You're not going to get that when you're in MGE, when you're one-on-one, because there's only one thing to focus on, which can be really good sometimes. You're focusing your energy on practicing your 1 versus 1s, learning your matchups. That's really cool, but it's not really realistic when you're playing the actual 6v6 game. When you're playing 6v6, there's teammates involved, there's multiple opponents involved, and you're rarely ever going to fight someone in a 1 versus 1 scenario. Don't get me wrong, if you can beat someone in a 1 versus 1 scenario, that will open up many doors for you, and learning how to win 1v1s is really important. But what can be even more important is things like focus fire, things like keeping your enemies in front of you, recognizing who's weak. These are really key skills that you can work on. So I want to talk about getting good from a scout's perspective. And if you play soldier or demo man, you can apply these topics there. And then I'll kind of go into the mindset of what I think about when I'm playing in a DM server. So let's talk about your raw aim. When you're playing scout, you want to be aiming for 60 to 80 damage mid-range shots. Now, when people play scout, they're thinking about getting those close range meat shots, the ones that do 100 damage in a shot, and that's great. But typically, in order to get close enough to someone to do that without putting yourself in harm's way, you either have to be baiting your teammate, meaning that opponent is shooting your teammate and not you, or you're shooting them in the back, it's a surprise attack, that kind of thing. And those kinds of things don't happen as often as you think. Now, baiting definitely does, but surprise attacks are rarer and a lot riskier of a play. What you're more likely to encounter is a situation where your soldier jumps in and opens up a play for you, and now you're trying to get in there and do damage without putting yourself in a situation where you're taking a lot of damage. And that's the beauty of a DM server is every time you take an engagement, you want to be getting value. You want to do more damage than you take. You want to be making sure that every decision that you make is effective and beneficial for you. And you're going to make a lot of mistakes doing that. And that's why it's so great to be in a server where you can be instantly respawning and just trying these scenarios over and over and over again. 60 to 80 damage mid-range shot is the money maker for scouts. It's like a 3-shot kill. If you're doing 60 damage, you're shooting 60 damage pellets. Mid-range is the perfect place for a scout to be because you're close enough to do lethal damage or at least significant damage, but you're not too close to where it's difficult to dodge or your movement becomes too predictable. If you stay far enough away, it makes it difficult for the other scout to hit you, or it makes it difficult for the soldier to land a shot on you because you're just out of range where you can double jump or use props or get out of their way. So you want to be hitting 60 damage shots. Now, if those of you guys who are really new to scout, you're going to be wanting to aim around the midsection, the lower torso, because the pellets shoot into cones, so you're going to do the most damage that way. You're looking for about 60 damage. If you can hit about 40 damage, that's okay too, but 60 to 80 is, if you hit 80 damage shots, that's fantastic. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. Also remember that when you're aiming, the pistol is a finishing weapon and not an initiator. I notice that a lot of like newer players will be using the pistol to sort of open it up or soften their opponent. But you notice the way that I'm playing, it's mostly scattergun. 95% of the time, you're just using the scattergun. Even when you're chip shotting someone, you just like chipping them away, kind of feeling them out, baiting out their shots, and then kind of closing in on them to actually finish off the kill. Let's talk about raw movement. Air strafing. If you don't know how to air strafe, definitely something you should work on in your own time, but a lot of people have difficulty integrating the air strafing into their gameplay, integrating it into their regular movement. When you're in a DM server, it's the perfect place to practice because you're thinking about all these different things, but air strafing should just come kind of naturally to you as you're sort of jumping around, as you're making your way on the map. You want to make your movements as fluid as possible, and if you're jumping in straight lines, that will make things really easy for the opponent to kill you. So air strafing is very important, and utilizing your jumps properly. Know your 1v1 matchups. If you're up against a scout, you likely want to stay kind of grounded. It makes it harder for them to predict where you're going to go. If you're airborne, it's easier to kill. Whereas when you're versus a soldier, you're probably going to be jumping around a lot more. So keep these things in mind when you're working on your raw aim and raw movement. Let's move on to the next topic, which is situational awareness and the reason why you're in a DM server. Like I said, when you're in MGE, when you're playing in these other scenarios, you're not really focused on the big picture. And one of the hardest things to do in a DM server is to keep your enemies in front of you. You want to avoid feeling surrounded or out of control. And that's really difficult in a server where people are randomly spawning behind you, in front of you. But I don't like to play DM servers with a lot of music. I don't like to zone out. I'm in it to win it. So when I'm in a DM server, I'm listening for everything around me. I'm paying attention to where my teammates are, and I'm paying attention to where my enemies are. If you're really new to doing this, it's going to be very overwhelming. You're going to probably focus on one or two. If you're lucky, you might focus on two things at once, but you're probably going to be like looking for one thing and sort of tunnel visioning. But you need to work on expanding your mind and expanding your vision. And that can be really difficult to do for new players. But what you're looking for is a greater understanding of everything that's happening around you, and then sort of very quickly making snap decisions and deciding what you're going to do next. And the best part, like I said, it's an instant respawn server. Make mistakes, try different things, try new techniques, and see what works and what doesn't work. And like maybe one time you'll go right in on a person, and maybe one time you'll keep your distance, but you'll need to find the right pressure to put on somebody. You can't take every single fight that you find, but there's certain fights that you want to take. Focus fire. This is a really great place for you to start. Ideally, if you just think about how you play sixes, you want to take a numbers advantage scenario. 2 versus 1, 3 versus 2, 3 versus 1, 4 versus 2. You want to be taking a fight where you have more people than they do. And the best way to do that is for you as a scout player to recognize your role on the team. You are a very fast-moving class, a cleanup class, a class that can address and put out different fires. So when a soldier is in trouble, he's not as able, unless he's using gunboats, of course, but he's not as able to move around quickly while still having rockets to defend himself. Scouts can very quickly move around the map and address multiple situations while keeping tabs on a lot of different things. So what you're going to want to do is pay attention to your teammates. Look at what your teammates are shooting at and then shoot the same things as them. It sounds really obvious, but it's very difficult to do at a high level because there's just so much going on. You're focusing on your aim and your movement, and now you got to focus on all these things on top of that. That's the challenge for you, right? So make sure you're aware of what's going on around you, and then attempt to assist your teammates in killing people. Now, as far as target selection goes, what you want to do is recognize weakness. You want to get a good sense of who is weak and then immediately pounce and take them down quickly before someone has a chance to shoot you in the back. So you want to take someone down and then immediately address the next closest threat and position yourself accordingly. Things like counting health, extremely important. Counting ammo, again, very important. And keep in mind, you're in a DM server where people have a lot of health. Every time they kill someone, they're going to get more health. Every time they kill someone, they're going to get more ammo. Take those things into consideration as well. But also take that into consideration when you're playing. You could take 1 versus 2 fights in a DM server because if you get one kill, you're going to get a second. But you ideally want to be taking situations again where you have number advantage and where you have a health advantage or an ammo advantage, playing health packs, that kind of thing. Extremely important. And make sure you choose the right fights. Choose the battles that you can win. You can't take every battle, like I said. So if there's a soldier on high ground looking down at you, you're gonna have a really hard time fighting him. Whereas if a scout is trying to kill one of your soldiers, you can easily run up and shoot him in the back and either get a 1-for-1 trade or maybe even save your soldier's life. That kind of play is what you're looking for. Also, something that's really underestimated is understanding the strength of your opponent. And when you are the new guy on the scene, you're going to be the worst player there. But when you get better and better, you're going to understand that you can play against certain opponents differently. A lower level player, you can take advantage of his weaknesses better than a higher level player who's not going to have as many weaknesses. If you understand that they have those weaknesses, you can just take advantage of that and abuse that. And it's not a bad thing to do that. When I first started playing, I had this mentality of, I'm going to pretend like everybody is Banny. I'm going to pretend that everybody is the best player in the game because I want to practice playing against the best player in the game. But part of being good at video games is just taking advantage of people's weaknesses, and that's how you win. And so you really just need to find every opportunity that you can to kill someone and do it. Use your teammates, like I mentioned before. Focus firing is really important, but you kind of have to understand your teammates as well. So understanding the strength of your opponent is important, but understanding the strength of your teammates can be even more important. A lot of times you'll queue in and the other team will be really strong and your team will be not as strong. So you need to use your teammates accordingly. If your teammates are really strong and you can trust them, then when they open up a play, commit to it just as hard as they are. If you think they're going to go for, if you think they're choosing the good opportunities, you can follow up on those opportunities and even relieve pressure off of them. One of the best things you can do as a scout, let's say a soldier initiates a fight, he gets hurt. You need to initiate and get really in that guy's face and make him look at you so that way he doesn't finish off your soldier. It's a really important skill that you can learn is relieving pressure off of your teammates by coming in second. But also coming in second can work better too if your teammates are terrible. If your teammates are terrible, then your life is more valuable than theirs sometimes, and you can just use your teammates straight up as bait. Let them shoot your opponents, and you just take advantage of that and just shoot them and get the 1-for-1 trade or whatever you're looking for. Learn your matchups, understand the players in the server that you're playing with, and play accordingly. So those are some of the things that you can work on. I don't want to give you too much. I don't want to overwhelm you. Those are just some basic ideas of things you can work on when you're in a DM server. And like I said, because it's queuing up so many of these scenarios back to back to back, you have an opportunity to practice so much in a very little amount of time. So let's go into the mindset that you should have when you're playing in a DM server. This is the mindset that I take in with me because I'm short on time. I'm a busy guy. I don't want to spend 5 hours a day in a DM server grinding my life away. I just want to be in, out, and done with it. So, number one, play to win, play to improve, and be efficient with your time. Don't just be a mindless zombie playing in a DM server. Just get in there, try your best to focus as hard as you can for whatever amount of time it was going to be, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Whatever amount of time that you've set aside for playing in a DM server, really utilize it as best you can. And as soon as you realize yourself starting to burn out or losing focus or not trying as hard, just disconnect, take a break, go do something else. You can always come back and do it later. But as you do more and more of this, you'll build up more stamina and be able to do this for longer and longer periods of time. When I first started playing MGE, I could only play 1 or 2 games. I mean, you're playing first to 20 kills and my brain just couldn't handle it at a certain point. But if you play more and more MG, you can play, 10 games of MG in a row, 200 kills. So that's just part of practice. That's just part of repetition. Second thing I wanted to tell you, learn from your mistakes. Don't just make a mistake and then kind of shrug it off or pretend like it never happened. I mean, it can be good if you're trying to preserve your sanity, but a good competitive player will make a mistake and then immediately say, okay, why did that happen? And how can I prevent it from ever happening again? Sometimes there's things that are out of your control that you cannot prevent, but if you're always coming at it with that mindset of trying to improve on your weaknesses, there'll come a day where you have very, very few weaknesses, and that'll be an awesome day. Number 3, keep your ego in check. Everyone's here to learn. Everyone's here in a server. It doesn't really matter if you're an invite level player or brand new to the game. Everyone kind of comes to these DM servers to play together. And if you're really good stomping on people, don't get cocky about it. I mean, sometimes you'll take fights that you shouldn't take, but always have good sportsmanship. You're not there to just rag on people or stomp noobs. You're there to practice your game, and they're there to practice their game as well. So just be respectful. Number 4, don't get frustrated. A lot of times, like I said, sometimes you'll have great games. Sometimes your team will be so much stronger than theirs, and you're just killing everything. You're on like a 10 kill streak and you're having an amazing DM session. Awesome. Sometimes you queue in and maybe you had a bad day at school or a bad day at work, and you get back to your computer and you're just not in the mood. Sometimes your hand hurts one day, or sometimes you're just in a different place mentally. Don't get frustrated. You know, not every day is going to be your day. Don't get frustrated. As far as like on a micro level, sometimes you'll run into like 3 or 4 deaths in a row. Again, still don't get frustrated. What's really great about DM is that you're just going to die and you're instantly reset and have a brand new beginning. Every life is a new opportunity for a fresh start. So you can always just kind of clear your mind and say, okay, reset, start over, ignore my KD, and just take it one kill at a time. And that's actually one of my favorite things about Team Fortress 2 is when compared to other games that are based on momentum, like League of Legends or even Counter-Strike, where you have an economy, is that in Team Fortress 2, if you lose a round, you can always just kind of reset your mind and go, okay, we lost a round. It's a brand new mid. Let's start over and let's just play this one round at a time. I think having that kind of attitude of working it one step at a time will get you a lot further than trying to take down the entire thing at once and go, wow, I have a 1-3 KD. How am I going to get 40 kills? Like, don't look at it as the whole 40 kills. Just take it one kill at a time. Number 5, take your time in general. A lot of people try and rush. They want to get really good. They have this expectation of themselves that they're going to hit every shot, and they're just grinding themselves away. They're just really excited to maybe try these ideas out. And so they hop in a server and try and take on too much, and just take your time. I think there's no rush. You got to remember that it takes time to build up these skills. You're not going to learn it overnight, and just pace yourself. And the last thing that I have to say is smile, and at the end of it, be able to say, that was fun. This is something that I've started doing recently, and this mentality for me came out of the pugs, because sometimes I had this when I was pugging. I'll have a bad game and I just get really kind of sad about it, or I just get frustrated. It's a video game. You want to make sure that you're having fun with it. Everyone plays TF2 to have fun, and when you're playing, just be able to sit down at the end of it and go, yeah, I had a DM session and that was fun. And if you have fun with it, you're going to want to do more of it. And if you do more of it, you'll get better. So just having a good attitude, a positive attitude, will help out so much more in the long run. So I'm done with this video. Thanks for watching. When the related videos pops up, find one with a title that interests you and click on it. I've got a lot more to tell you about TF2. Catch you next time.